James Franco has been accused of sexual misconduct by multiple women. Originally, it was just a few, and more came out actually today in a report from the LA Times. So Franco won the Golden Globe for the disaster artist just a few days ago and was widely celebrated. He was wearing a Me Too pin, or a Time's Up pin. And there is a person named Violet Paley who tweeted out, "Cute, #Time's Up pin, James Franco. Remember the time you pushed my head down in a car towards your exposed penis? And that other time you told my friend to come to your hotel when she was 17 after you had already been caught doing that to a different 17-year-old. She said, a couple weeks ago, James offered me a few other girls an overdue, annoyed, convenient phone apology. I don't accept, but maybe some other people's lives would be made easier if he donated all his earnings from the disaster artist to RAINN, which is the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network." The New York Times canceled an event that James was supposed to appear at because of they admitted because of these allegations. And then today, I don't even know, I haven't really made it all the way through this, but 5 additional women who had a correspondence with him, either as one saying that he was her mentor, the other saying that he was their teacher and they were his students, accused him of some pretty weird behavior and some seemingly quite inappropriate behavior. One said that when they were, she told the Times that in a nude orgy scene she filmed with Franco and several women three years ago, which is very recent. He removed protective plastic guards covering other actresses' vaginas while simulating oral sex on them. I feel there was an abuse of power and there was a culture of exploiting non-celebrity women and a culture of women being replaceable. In some cases, they said they believe Franco would offer them career advancement and acquiesce to his wishes even when they were uncomfortable. This is from the LA Times. So what do you guys, where do you start with?
Well, did you watch Colbert when he was on Colbert and Colbert took him to task and asked him, hey, Ali Sheedy had these tweets about you, all this stuff's coming out. What did this happen? And as I watched it, James started out, okay, he was like, saying all the right things, all the obligatory things you say, I hear these women, I stand behind them, I stand with them. But he never ever came out and said, no, I didn't do this. Now, I ask you guys, if someone said, Grace, you stole my car, and you know for a fact you didn't steal that person's car, unequivocally, you would say, I did not steal this person's car. I will say that to my dying breath, I did not do it. If James Franco didn't do these things that he was being accused of, or any of these people that say they didn't do it, why don't they just come out and say, I didn't do this, besides giving these really murky, foggy explanations? And on Colbert, that's exactly what Franco did. He didn't really.
So he did. The next night he went on Seth Meyers, and Seth Meyers took him to task about a similar line of questioning. And he did say in that interview that the tweets that he had seen, and it's unclear which tweets he's referencing. So he is being vague in some of his answers, which I know is very frustrating for the women that have come forward and just for all of us to figure out what's going on here. He said that some of the tweets he had seen were not accurate. But he has decided that in order to be a helpful part of the conversation, and please check out his full statement, that he would rather take a knock and not say anything because so many people have been silenced for so long. So he would rather take that knock than to try and discredit some of the accusations that are coming forward. But that was at Seth Meyers, and now this morning we're waking up to the LA Times piece. James Franco's lawyers have just asked media to look at what he said on the Colbert Show. So that was 2 nights prior. I think this is probably just the tip of the iceberg to what we're going to see in the Franco saga. But just to be mindful of like the timeline of what is happening here.
He went on, the Colbert thing is where he said, and it seems like he kind of reiterated a version of this. The things I heard that were on Twitter were not accurate, but I completely support people coming out and being able to have a voice because they didn't have a voice for so long. Do you trust him when he says like, I'll take a knock? Or do you think this is like a calculated strategy for like, if I don't move, they can't see me?
Yeah.
And does that not sound like a well-crafted, publicist statement, it sounds absolutely like it. And the fact that he's being vague is because he can't come out and say, no, absolutely did not do this, because he doesn't know what else might come out. He doesn't know what evidence there might be. So he doesn't want to appear as a liar. And yes, it seems like he's just trying to hide, by, saying all the right things. Here's what we learned in the past year. You can't say this, this or that. You must say this, this, and that. Right. And so
it's like a weird, like the way technology advances. It's like over time you try things, you fail, you kind of rework it. So now they know what the exact right thing to say is.
And let's be clear, he's on the cusp of winning an Oscar, and he knows that. And so I think that he is really, he's wanting to play his cards right, and he has to do these late night appearances to promote the film, and he has to do, what is it called when you go around, you're doing the junkets. You're doing the junkets and just the promotional stuff that you do when you're in an Oscar contending movie, and he was the director of The Disaster Artist as well. So I think that's what he's doing. An interesting point that I saw on Twitter that I think was really interesting is I love Seth Meyers and Stephen Colbert. They're probably my two favorite late night hosts. One of the questions that Stephen Colbert asked James Franco was, how can we move this conversation past just a back and forth on social media? How can we get this further? Because right now, like Stephen was like, I'm asking you about tweets online and you're responding in person. This doesn't feel like it's conducive to a healthy growth in the conversation. What can we do? And the tweet that I saw that really resonated with me, and I would love your guys' take, is, well, the person that came forward only has Twitter. James Franco has these late night talk shows as a platform. So social media is where we're at right now for these people to come forward or to go through media outlets.
But that doesn't take away from the question that Stephen Colbert asked. Because if we can solve that question, that's great. If we can solve that problem.
The Times article was amazing because Violet Paley, who was one of the people who was the one that sent the tweet on the night of the Golden Globes, also had a consensual relationship with James Franco. And she even admits that, hey, this makes things a little bit complicated because I did give him consent for the activities we partook in, but prior to that there was infractions. And one of the things that stuck out to me, and I think that always sticks out in all of these situations, is that people are looking to these powerful people for opportunity, right? Like a lot of these women that were actresses were hinging on him giving them a part in his movies. They were going to the studio and training with him, and there were some students by all accounts that were saying, hey, no, he actually was a great person, but then I'm sorry, there's so much that came out of this that was really, Hillary Dusam said, I felt like I was selected for something based on my hard work and my merit. And when I realized it was because I had nice breasts, it was clearly not the case. And then also, she says, I don't think he started teaching with bad intentions, but he went down a bad path and damaged a lot of people in the process. Katie Ryan also says, he would always make everybody think that there were possible roles on the table if they were to perform sexual acts and take off their shirts. In the article, many of those women said that he was always asking them about nudity. He was always proposing nudity. That nudity would be a great way to get your foot in the door.
So creepy. But it's kind of, is it weirdly on brand? Like, I hate to say this, but he's kind of creepy. He's kind of like skeezy, and some women find his skeeziness sexy. Is that weird?
No, it's not weird.
In The Deuce, that's his character, is this smooth talking, but I'm so likable because I have a great smile.
Weird. That's the thing. I have a theory with some of these actors that are in Hollywood. Some of them are great actors, great technique, but some of them, when they reoccurringly play the douchebag, then that's who they are in real life. They're a douchebag.
When they show you who you are, you believe them?
I feel like that's the case with James Franco. And for the studio that he ran and he was teaching there, and he was mentoring these 17, 18-year-old girls, and he was only offering them parts as prostitutes where they had to, they did a scene where an orgy happened. I mean, what kind of movies is this? Is this a porn studio? What's happening here? It seems like this is kind of a pathway where, some of the more prominent actresses now refuse to just do nude scenes. So we're just gonna take these little girls, that just came into the industry. They're very eager, they'll do anything. They are the ones that don't have a publicist, don't have a manager, that will sign these disclosures where they'll agree to do these nude scenes. And by the way, some of their videos have been released on Vimeo.
So,
and found on porn sites now.
Yeah, and found on porn sites. And it seems like it's just being used kind of like a pipeline of getting these young girls naked and have them do these orgy scenes.
Is it weird? It's like you're a star. There's a thing where it's like you're a star and people want to have sex with you. isn't that enough of a cycle for you to like have sex with people if that's why you're a star, without having to be like, and I've got a school where I teach people? Like, that's where it gets really creepy. I actually don't have any problem with it's like, hey, you want to come meet up in my hotel? I'm James Franco. We can bangarang if you were into my movies, whatever. But when it becomes like, okay, so we're gonna do this scene where we're all naked, that's like a very clear sign to me, like, creeper. And is it weird the first thing I said?
No, because Brett, everything you're saying is what people are thinking as well too. And James Franco does have this like this greasy kind of like I am like kind of like just douchey air about him. But in 2014, he was busted on Instagram propositioning
like a 17-year-old Scottish
tourist.
Then
he goes on Kelly and Michael and says, you know what? I just got caught up in how social media is. My bad. I'll do better next time. I'm so sorry. So I don't have any sympathy for James Franco. I think you guys all hit the nail on the head that he's, Grace, as you said, he's on the precipice of being an Oscar winner, and he has a lot at stake here. But he's called these women that prior to this and has apologized before this even came out, because he knew, as some of these other people have been caught, that the storm is coming, winter is coming.
So then it makes me think about something that Dave Chappelle talked about in his special, which I know we talked about on the show, and there were things I liked about Dave Chappelle's special and things I disagreed with, but I thought it really brought up a lot of conversations. One of those conversations was, what do we do with imperfect allies, with flawed allies? So for example, James Franco has undoubtedly, and I think self-admittedly, done some really creepy, shady things that he should not have done, and that women were definitely felt preyed upon because of his very bad behavior, because of, in part because of the conditioning of a sick system that's twisted. The power dynamic has always been swayed towards men, and then he acted inappropriately in accordance to that. So if we put that there, and now we say that James Franco has a time's up pin, and he is saying all the right things, and he says that he wants to change and he knows that he can do better. Please give me this opportunity to do better. I don't know the answer to this, but it's worth asking the question of, what do we do with an imperfect ally? Do we believe James Franco that he wants to do better, or do we just like, nope, you did this thing? Absolutely not. Do we throw him out, and do we look for? There are so many actors, worthy, very good actors, I'm sure, could play the same roles as James Franco, who have never engaged in this bad behavior. So I'm just wondering, like, where is the line? How are we going to have this conversation?
I gravitate toward that word imperfect, because like I picked out a diamond and buying it for my now wife for a ring, and they have grades of imperfections. There's like very slightly included, there's flawless, and there's grades for a reason. Like there's a difference between a slightly flawed ally, someone like I don't know, Ben Affleck jumps to mind, where it's like he is the one that is mentioned. That's why it jumps to mind, because it's mentioned in the Chappelle special, where he's like, they're like, he grabbed butts a few years ago in an interview. That's different than someone who is like setting up a ring of classes so that he can get women naked with the promise of eventually making them stars. Like that is some Harvey Weinstein level crap. And there's a difference between ally sniping, like people who really mean well, who have made mistakes in the past, and like folks who are willfully misleading you into thinking they're allies. And I think that there are those who mean well, and that's genuine, and those are the ones we shouldn't like necessarily. We should maybe talk about them, but not completely discredit them for things they did in the past.
I think it comes down, there's no litmus test for this, right? And I think as a society, especially right now in our climate, that everything's unexcusable. Like once you have one infraction, it's a wrap. You are done for good. I think as time progresses, we'll soften up a little bit. However, I think it goes back to just your gut feeling of when you're watching these people give their apologies or how they handle the situation. You can tell when someone's pretty genuine or disingenuous. You really can. James Franco, I got from him on Colbert, because I didn't watch Seth Meyers, but that he has some remorse, and I was ready to believe him. But then when you read the LA Times, the New York Times, the Post, and LA Times, they go for the jugular. They leave no stone unturned. It makes it really, any smart person has to take a seat and a step back and be like, okay, wait a minute. Now I'm torn. So I think time will heal all wounds. But as a society, we need to figure out, okay, well, as Brett said, where do we allow people like Ben Affleck who grabbed someone's butt. Like, where do we give them what's like the litmus test for this? And I don't think we'll ever come to that. I think it's all conditional and it's all subjected to the person's feelings.
Then there's that whole discussion of like, oh, I'm on a journey. I was real shitty back in the day, and now like my whole narrative is I'm not shitty anymore.
But is that because you got caught that you're not shitty anymore?
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
Yeah,
I think there's ways to prove that. Like, go out there and try to actually do something. Put yourself on the line, donate some money, give your money away to charities. Like, go out and support other women that come out all the time. But if you're just gonna come out when it's convenient to you, running up to an Oscar and saying, oh, I changed, I'm gonna do better. He didn't say this is not who I am, right? Because he's been caught so many times. So this is kind of who he is. And like, I don't get it. He's not, what's the part of him that's an ally? What has he done for the rest of us?
And another what has he done? The interview with Seth Meyers, did you see the part where Seth's like, so Ali Sheedy, who's a 80s actress, she's known for being in like the Brat Pack, she tweeted some things about him, took him down, and then Seth goes, so why didn't you reach out to her? Why didn't you call her and ask what she meant? And he's like,
He's like, weren't you curious about this person that you said that you had a good working relationship with? Obviously had a different interpretation of your time together, and he was like,
that's because his
team
at Work LLC said, you know what? We'll handle this for you. Here's what you do. As you said, they have a blueprint from now what we've learned on how to handle these situations. And they said, keep quiet.
I love the names of them. Our PR department, our PR company is called Sunshine Sacks, which is perfect because all PR does is blow sunshine up people's sacks.